Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while, but I'm just here to discuss a few updates regarding my life and my career and how it's going. So most people think you need a degree to get into cybersecurity, and as you know, I was very much under the same impression. But I'm here to tell you that's completely wrong, it's false, and it's more of the old ways. So stick around to the end of the video and let's discuss where I am, what's happened, and how I've got there. So, in my first and sort of debut video, Day in the Life of a Cybersecurity video, you can quite clearly see that I was, spoilers, a student at the University of Warwick studying cybersecurity. And the reason what sort of led me to go to uni, pick that sort of degree was quite funny really. I loved computer science at school, growing up. It was always my sort of passion, but I was always really terrible at maths.
You stupid.
Is there a way to sort of do the same sort of topics and align it with what I want to do without the maths? And then came this interest, this whole new buzzword of cybersecurity. That was a whole thing sort of ingrained in my head when I was doing research into unis and sort of things like that. So that's what sort of led me to do cybersecurity. But then I didn't really know what I was getting into, if you know what I mean. Little did I know that cybersecurity is actually a branch of IT itself, which again we'll get into later in the video. But it was just something that I did for that particular reason. And the reason why I sort of wasn't really too fond of doing anything else was because I come from a family that's very, very educational, very, very old-fashioned, that if you don't go to university, you're not going to get anywhere in life, which again we'll discuss later in the video. But that's how it sort of came about to be. So I thought, to impress my parents, given my background, given my upbringing, it was the right thing to do. So that's what sort of led me into going into university. So let's talk about my university story in the next chapter. As with anything in life, starting something new is very exciting, and that was how I felt starting university. But little did I know that would be a complete change. So I started university at the University of Warwick studying cybersecurity, as you know. I actually started my journey in 2020, believe it or not. So that was during the peak times of COVID, lockdown and all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't a real traditional university experience for me, which I guess had like a real factor in my decision to no longer pursue my degree. So it wasn't a traditional university experience in the sense that it was a few lessons every week, a few lessons a week, going to campus, going to labs and whatnot. It was more, you do perhaps one lab a week, and that was very limited as well. If it wasn't that lab, it was online, which again, for me, my particular learning style, I need to be hands-on, engaging with the students and the teacher as well. If there's anything that's on my mind, I've got to talk to them about. So again, it really didn't tick my boxes, but again, no fault to the university on that particular topic. So that really sort of ruined my university experience for me. No social life really, it's just stuck in your dorms, dusk till dawn really. So it wasn't really the best experience in that aspect. And like I said, it was exciting times with the modules, all this new stuff that I've never learned at university before. I really thought, this was the time to shine. This was where I wanted to be, the sort of subjects that I was thinking about: networking, coding. I've done a bit of coding in school, but it was more in depth. And I thought, let's get my hands dirty in this topic and let's get ready to learn. But it slowly became apparent that due to the circumstances and due to this new way of, I guess, even university, comparing school to university, you kind of lose the structure, if you will. And that wasn't it for me. I realized that, okay, sometimes we'll be learning about, a networking thing here, but then a random coding project, which had, in my eyes, no real correlation and no real world application, which is what led me to think, is this really practical? But then everything changed because I actually fell ill during university, and it was a critical moment for me. So much so that I had to take time out. And it wasn't great for me. It was literally one of the lowest points in my life. So I thought, let's put university on hold for the time being, and we'll come back to it. But as you can imagine, I took quite a long break, and quite a few decisions were made in the background. So after the break, I decided to pursue my university degree again a couple of years later, and once a piece falls out, it's hard to put that piece back in. I haven't really been studying. It's hard to just integrate back in, especially now that it's no longer COVID, which is what I was used to. So then it all became very bizarre to me. The course structure was completely different, and in a way it was worse, because when I was starting my university, everything was a bit more organic. Of course, there was no face-to-face, but at least there was some thinking behind it. But now, coming back to university, there was such a high buzzword with AI and ChatGPT. All these things were emerging, and nothing really felt organic in the way that all my students, all my classmates were just, instead of just doing it themselves, they were just asking ChatGPT, or just doing this assignment for me. And then I thought, there's no real thinking to that. So I thought, this is no longer for me. And then I decided to just quit, because I thought, you need real world experience in the world of IT, world of cyber. You're not going to get to where you want to be without the foundations, which I'll discuss in the next chapter. But it was just that point in life for me. I thought, I'm kind of wasting my time here. I'm wasting my time and my money, and it's time to sort of pull my socks up and get on with my life. I've had that low point, and let's return. Let's get back onto where I want to be. So in the next chapter, we'll discuss that more. Okay, so following on from what I was saying, I decided to quit university, but I didn't just walk out. I did have a back out plan, which is exactly where we are now. So I thought, I need to get my hands dirty in the real world of IT, and eventually make it up to the cyber analyst, that sort of role, those sort of roles I was getting more info about, and what I really wanted to do in life. So I started looking into jobs, watching a few videos, watching a few YouTubers as well, and it became apparent that I'm not going to get far without any IT experience. I even started looking on LinkedIn as well. I thought, I am doomed without a degree, aren't I? But then I thought, nah, not really, because I found IT Helpdesk, and I've been doing that for a year and a half now, and I haven't looked back. I've gained troubleshooting skills which are imperative in the world of security. How else are you going to explain to your manager, or the business, in fact, that an issue is going on? You need skills like explaining technical details to non-technical stuff, and stakeholders as well. Troubleshooting is the most important thing I've learned so far, and I'm dealing with tickets. I'll make another video on this, a day in the life of an IT help desk technician, and then my real goal is to sort of pivot this into cyber. But like I said, this is where I am right now, and every ticket that I do sort of helps build that foundation in IT security as well. Because as I mentioned, cybersecurity is not just its own sort of isolated thing. You need to know the foundations of IT, build your way up the ladder, get the basic foundations. As you can see, I've been studying networking. Build your networking, build your people skills, build troubleshooting, and then build your ticketing, incident problem solving, all that sort of thing. And then only then, in my opinion at least, you have the skill set, you have the toolbox to then progress into IT security, which is what I'm doing now. And I think for me, that's the best thing to do. In the next chapter, I will discuss, my plans, what I'm doing to progress, to cross that bridge into cyber, and what my future plans and aspirations are. So, this is the sort of final segment of the video, but like I said, I'm an IT help desk technician, and I have been for the past year. And it's not been the easiest job. You have the annoying client here, there, and there. But honestly, without people like this, no offense, I wouldn't be in a job. So it's always best to troubleshoot from every angle. You can have the most complex problem, which you will need to troubleshoot. If you can't and you don't understand, obviously then you've got to escalate further. But like I said, I'll make a video in more detail what I do in a day-to-day. But yeah, my future plans for cyber are, I'm not sure if you can see in the background, but I'm currently studying for my Network Plus and my Security Plus as well. As I mentioned, very important to get those foundations. And I know I've heard a lot of mixed feedback in these exams. There's only multiple choice. What are you really going to pick up from this? But it's just, it's just having that on your LinkedIn, having that on your CV is far more valuable with what I'm about to say as well than just a degree. So I'm not only doing this, but I'm also, I've also got a home lab which I'm building upon many different Linux and different operating system virtual machines as well, which I love to tinker around with. But again, that's why I want to go into cyber, because I love breaking things down and then sort of reverse engineering it. How does it work from this side? How does it work from that side? Because I believe that's one of the key aspects of cyber. If you can't understand something, how are you going to explain? How are you going to explain this to your managers, your stakeholders? How are you going to see, oh, perhaps that's a vulnerability. Perhaps I need to patch that. You've got to have that sort of mindset. So yeah, I'm building labs, testing all sorts of things. But the real thing is, you need to have the insider knowledge. You're not going to be able to just finish a degree and then know everything. No one knows everything. But then you've got to have that foundation. You've got to have, you've got to know about the infrastructure. How else are you going to defend the network without knowing anything about it? You can't just say, yeah, I'm just gonna use this tool, blah blah blah, and mention a bunch of tools that you've learned, perhaps in one-offs in your course. That's not real value. You need to build that portfolio. You need to show recruiters that they've built their way up. They know what they're talking about. And I just didn't think I could get that from a degree, from my personal experience as well. So I believe I've made the right decision. And going forward, I'll document it on this channel. And it'll be interesting to see where I go as well, because there is actually a post in my current work, which is a cybersecurity analyst job. So aside from making this video, I'm also, like I said, studying for the foundations. I've worked here for a year, so fingers crossed. Let's see if I get the job. But yeah, that's about it, guys. Just let me know if you learned something, if you've picked up anything, if you've got a similar story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know if you learned anything. Let me know if you got a similar story, and please comment any sort of video ideas you want to see, anything you want to learn from me. See ya.